Hey everyone, Michael back at you here on the Archangel 15. Today's topic is, what is justice? In the past, I've done other topics in this manner, like what is honor, what is time, etc. In the last presentation, I did a tribute to the late Chief Justice William Rehnquist. In that, I delivered my personal opinion on justice. This is how it goes. I'm going to reiterate it here. And lies must never breach the expectations of justice. Verily, the confines of usurpation and belligerent actions by those we entrust with willful authority will regress heinously into metastatic legions as they have with freemasonry and organized crime. This should never be tolerated at any level or levels of our justice system. Such consequential actions will result in the true definition of justice ceasing to have any inherent meaning, and the integral conduct of man will revert into a bottomless pit. So in there, I mentioned the true definition of justice, and it got me thinking about, like, what is the definition of justice? There's many various definitions. Like, you look at various law dictionaries, just regular dictionaries, kind of define it yourself. Maybe ask a judge, maybe ask an attorney. It's, like I said, very rhetorical by nature. And I'm going to list several here that I found, and I honestly didn't really find any sufficient for my liking, so I decided to do my own definition, which I'm going to list at the end. So please stay with me. So starting off, there's like 6 of them from MerriamWebster, one of them from Google, dictionary.com has 7 or so, Britannica has 3, Black's has 1. It's kind of confusing, just going to like read through them here. Starting with Google, just behavior or treatment. It says most of them have this theme of equality or like basically fairness, essentially. And I think there's some good to that, but I think it's not enough. And like, I don't think any of them that I read really encompass the full scope of the magnitude of the term of what it really means. So starting here, Merriam-Webster's 1. The maintenance or administration of what is just, especially by the impartial adjustment of conflicting claims or the assignment of merited rewards or punishments. B. A judge. C. The administration of law, the establishment of determination of rights according to the rules of law, the quality of being just, impartial, or fair, a principle or ideal of just dealing or right action, conformity to the principles or ideals of righteousness, the quality of conforming to law, conformity to truth, fact, or reason, correctness. Okay, so then I go to I believe, dictionary.com. The quality of being just, righteousness, equitableness, or moral rightness, rightfulness, or lawfulness, as a claim or title, justness of ground or reason, the moral principle for determining just conduct, conformity to this principle as manifested in conduct, just conduct, dealing, or treatment, just treatment or members of society with regard to a specific public issue, including equitable distribution of resources, the administering of deserved punishment or reward, and the maintenance or administration of what is right, something like that. Administration of what is just by law, as by the judicial or other proceedings. Judgment of persons or causes by judicial process. A judge on a higher court, no. A minor judicial officer, magistrate, no. Basically, this is many various interpretations right here. Like, kind of, you could almost, I think, cut out a lot of them and streamline them into less. But okay, so let me keep going here. So Britannica, the process or result of using laws to fairly judge and punish crimes and criminals. The quality of being just or fair. Like I said, it seems to be the common theme. Okay, so then I go to Black's Law Dictionary, which is pretty much the standard for legal nomenclature. They have many various editions. I have one, actually, I have in storage now. But protecting rights and punishing wrongs using fairness. It is possible to have unjust laws even with fair and proper administration of the law. The land is a way for all the legal. So that's kind of a little bit of a quirky way to put it, I guess you could say. So I'm going to start with mine. Okay. The moral obligation of authority to interpret and infer preponderant causation that acts upon the equidistant bifurcation of the willful intent of man, I guess it could be man or woman, with the objective of maintaining tranquility and upholding sanctity among mass populations. And I don't mean to try to sound, like too uppity here or anything like that, but basically I have an online degree from Liberty University in criminal justice, business and criminal justice, with a couple other universities as well. But without having gone, I've talked about the Socratic method in the past, without, being a slave to the system and having either my daddy pay for me to go to law school or going several $100,000 into debt. Like, I have to use bigger words to basically hang with the big dogs. And, that's kind of what I do here. So I mentioned preponderant in there, and I've talked about this in the past. There's this thing called fair preponderance of evidence. Like, if you were to go to law school and you get nothing more out of law school than this to understand fair preponderance of evidence. Think about like the classic symbolism of the two scales of justice. The lady with the blindfold on, typically holding the two scales of justice. Sometimes you see it with not the blindfold. It's various forms, especially all around the world, not just in the United States legal system. But it's essentially the tipping of the scales to the 51% of basically beyond a reasonable doubt. To basically put all the evidence, the moment the evidence shifts in your favor, or that's what essentially when you obtain justice. It gets into this thing I've talked about in the past about the diametrical opposition of everything. Everything in life essentially is diametrically opposed, like the yin and the yang, the white, the black, the positive, negative energy, the right, the wrong. Think about binary code in computers, ones and zeros. It goes on and on and on and on. I've talked about this in my Theory of Everything presentation. And notice how I mention at the end, I say, with the objective of maintaining tranquility and upholding sanctity among mass populations. I really believe that to take this to push this topic further, we need to understand that when there wasn't as many people, as populations grow, so does the need for law and the need to basically restrict man's actions. And the more people equal more problems. Let's just leave it at that. I'm a constitutionalist and a libertarian at heart, but I have a quote of mine. This is a separate quote of mine, and it's also very rhetorical by nature. What came first? The crime, the punishment, the judge, the jury, the prison, the courthouse, or the gatekeeper? You tell me. And there's a major issue with case law as well. Moving forward, okay, first off, I want to start off and say that under the Constitution of the United States of America, the 10th Amendment says that states' rights trump everything. They are above all. Basically, each state can do whatever it wants. And if you don't like the state you live in, you can move to another state. And that's the beautiful thing about the way this country was founded, with the intent of our founders. And but then, you go to any court system, there's this big thing, this big back and forth. You'll see many judges and many lawyers will use precedents of federal statutes as if they are the infinite law of the land, as if they trump everything, but they really don't. It's it's a technicality that's built in to where a real cowboy could not just come on the scenes and basically start suing everybody, the oil industry for causing cancer, or whatever. It's very, very deep technicalities. There's a big dichotomy between civil law and criminal law as well, and I'm not going to get too deep into it. It's a very, very deep thing. It's obviously become an industry of sorts. It's really, really sad. But as time goes on, the cases, the statutes that we use for precedents in case law become antiquated. The populations grow, things change, just like the Bible changed. It was very, very different times many thousands of years ago. It's null and void in my opinion. Major issues there. This being said, if you ever watched the movie The Ten Commandments, there's this famous scene where Moses says, "There is no freedom without the law of God." I don't know, I can't actually find in the Bible where he says that, but there's various things in the Bible where Moses said things on that line. Like, basically, there is a need for law. And, like, there's also, like, I'm really a huge fan of Aleister Crowley and his work. He has the Book of Law. He went to Egypt and wrote with his wife. And there's, like, many themes in there. It actually says, like, do not talk about the contents of this book. But the main theme, I'll give it to you, like, is do it thou will. Like, you know, follow, like, your own intuition, essentially. Or, like, God put us on this earth to be, like, essentially, you know, like, control our own domain. Plato once said, reason unaffected by desire is what separates human beings from dogs. Something on the lines of that. Like, that kind of ties into Crowley's thing as well. Okay, so, like, I really don't think that we need to have all these crazy laws, and, like, it really bothers me that they would, like, make you take a vaccine, but then you have to I'm not even gonna get into it with that, but, like, you know, like, the stupid ones, like having to wear a seatbelt and this and that. So I'm gonna go through the Ten Commandments and, like, give you my take on them. I really believe that the Ten Commandments are antiquated now for various reasons. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. God has many names. Some people call him Allah, some people call him God, some people call him Jehovah, Tetragrammaton, Grammaton. There's many names of God. And, you know, like, I think we'll all have one God. And, you know, God essentially is Satan, except part of this diametrically opposed force of good and evil, that he gives us free will to choose what we want. Helena Blavatsky had a lot of work she did on this. I have yet to read her books. They're very long. I have a lot of other work I do for this channel and other things. But Helena Blavatsky, a fellow Ukrainian, she was from Dnipro area. Amazing work there. She basically founded the Theosophy Society, and it's like the framework of many occultic institutions, I guess you would call them, or legions. And so, okay, I'm going to go down each one of these. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Okay, so like, I believe that, yes, we have one God. Okay, I can live with that. Thou shalt make no graven images. I like that as well. I think money should have, like, a heart on it or something like that. Like, you know, I kind of like with Washington and everything, but I don't even like the idea of money having faces on it. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord God in vain. Okay, I can live with that. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. I agree with that. I guess there's this debate between the Jews and the Christians. What is the Sabbath? Is it Saturday or is it Sunday? And like, essentially, if we become so suppressed and the inequality has grown so much, and maybe you're fortunate and, you know, you're retired early, or you don't have, you know, your schedule allows you to take a full day off. Out here where I live in Amish country, it's a very big thing. Like, you cannot buy, like, it's like basically every other week. One week they like frolic, like hang out and do, like, family events and go to, like, friends, families for whatever, for dinner, play volleyball games. And the other Sunday they go to church. They have churches at their own houses. But yes, I do believe that there's, like, an importance to observe the Sabbath, and I'm really big on the Eucharist, Lord's Supper, Communion, Holy Communion. First Sunday of the month is when I do it. I do it my own little ceremony. But if you're suppressed and you're, like, you know, you're not able to make any good money, then maybe you have to either work 2 jobs, and maybe the day that you have off, you have to cut your grass or take your kids somewhere or go shopping. You know, like, the way the world has changed, it's not like it used to be. I think that God is, you know, pretty punctual on that one. You know, I mean, or, like, pretty open to whatever. And okay, so honor thy mother and thy father. Now, this is a big one. Like, I really believe that Moses is turning in his grave. In many cases, your mother and your father are lying, shill, scumbag pieces of shit. And, like, excuse my language there, but, like, in many cases, your parents are shills for an evil agenda, the Zionist, the war machine. You know, just look at who they probably work for. And I think it's important to have respect, like, especially for people who maybe know more than you, or people who are older than you. But, like, the Mongol Motorcycle Club has this saying, respect few, fear none. And, like, I really think in many cases this falls into line with your parents. And, like, I really believe that, like I said, the 10 Commandments are like too antiquated to even really have any merit anymore. And this is like no disrespect to Moses, but thou shalt not kill. I agree with that, but if evil people behind the scenes are using eugenics programs, poisoning your food, and starting fake wars, and trying to basically play God, then maybe they should be killed so that we can basically liberate ourselves from this evil oppression. Or maybe it's necessary sometimes to like eradicate evil people. Like I guess it falls into what's known as like a capital crime or capital punishment. And thou shalt not commit adultery. I'm pretty big on this one. There's a few exceptions on this. I'm not going to get into it. Like David and others. If somebody was stolen from you, you think maybe you have the right to steal them back. And that thou shalt not steal. I totally agree with that. But if the Zionists and other people are stealing from you and basically enslaving you through debt and other means, then that like basically like, you know, what are we supposed to just, you know, bend over and lube up and take it you know where? I mean, come on. And thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Okay, I totally agree with this. Like, you should not lie. Like, lying is not good. I'm going to get it, like, kind of finish on that note. And thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. I'm kind of just like a Buddhist at heart. I have a separate quote here. I'm going to tie into that. And this is from John, the book of John 3, which is like where John 3:16 comes from, but 3:31. And like, this is like unlocks one of the deepest levels of mystery. There was this mystery school that Aleister Crowley was thrown out of. But he that cometh from above is above all. He that is of the earth is earthly, and speaketh of the earth. He that cometh from the heaven is above all. And what he has seen and heard, he testifieth, and no man receiveth his testimony. And he that received his testimony hath set his seal that God is true. Basically, like, be not of this earth. Like there's other dimensions beyond the three-dimensional plane. You know, basically what's known as the quantum. And like, this is where the angels roam. And like, this is where like you really become set free. I've talked about my correspondence with Dr. Bruce Grayson in the past, and his lasting words to me from the International Association of Near-Death Studies. It's a very common theme that people that have the near-death experiences often feel this way. But yes, like, liberate yourself from the materialistic trap. Basically, like he said, you are blessed to see the materialistic trap that exists. And so I went through all those. I'm going to keep moving along here. Sorry for taking so long. There's so many victims of the system. And I mean, particularly like the African Americans come to mind. They've been victims of the justice system for many years. And like, once you get into the system, the recidivism, basically the rate of like staying in, basically is quantifiably higher than people who not. Like, there's other things as well. If you come from a single family home or single parent family and so forth. The heroin epidemic is very, very dear and personal to me. I really believe that there was many times that like parents went to the cops or like DEA or probably even above that authority. We're like, there's this person that's selling drugs on this corner, and you know, everybody's buying it and dying, and you're not doing anything about it. And it was very, very obvious that it was part of like a Holocaust. I mean, it wasn't just like, you know, white middle class kids, which primarily it was. It was other people, like, you know, you think about Heath Ledger or Philip Seymour Hoffman, and others come to mind as well. And very, very dear and personal to my heart. And they killed these kids so that some evil, greedy, silver spoon scumbags could basically ass puppets for the Zionists and the Freemasons could take their place and like have kids. And like, I promise you that like, this will never ever fly in the eyes of God. Like I said, there's this thing that's called free will that we have. And like, this is what they wanted to steal from, like, or like basically engineer out of like the human race. And they didn't like how like the middle class kids that they killed, they listened to rock music and they knew their rights and they would protest. And they want little subservient beings that are under their thumb and sit in their room and play video games all day. And like I said, are ass puppets. And Jesus, I think, really had it pretty much right on. He said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. He also said, the truth shall set you free. The lasting thing that we really should embrace of his is the great commandment. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. And like that pretty much says it all. It really comes down to this deeper element of love. And John Lennon, said it famously, all you need is love. I truly, truly, humbly, in all my heart, believe that truth and love will prevail over lies, evil, and darkness. It says in the Bible that Michael is the chief prince and basically a judge and holder of the book of life. And it's very, very intriguing there if you get into that aspect. There's like in the book, The Morals of and Dogma, like the prerequisite to Freemasonry. I've only ever read one chapter of it. It talks in there about like how the floors in there, many of the Freemason buildings or whatever, I wouldn't call them temples, they're black and white, and it like represents exactly like I was talking about, the diametric opposition of good and evil forces, and Michael battling the devil, essentially. So they obviously know a lot what I'm talking about as well. For whatever reason, they failed to completely divert their strategy and like basically try to, I guess, play God themselves, or who knows what was in their head. Also, it talks in there about starting fake wars. It says like Albert Pike says, do not start fake wars. So this will make your country very rich, very fast, but it'll have like devastating consequences. Essentially, the world will hate you, and like it's not good. Like basically from like a moral, ethical code of sorts. And please, if you have a legal background, I encourage you, like, please leave your own definition of justice, or at least tell me which one that you feel is adequate to this word that we call justice. Please, like I said, feel free to leave comments on anything. I have a few other presentations maybe in the future here for you. And things are getting pretty crazy in the world right now. Hope everybody stays well. Take care, folks.